Hey, Chris Carter here once again with another great edition of Wrestling Real Talk. Ladies and gentlemen, honored to be here today with a superstar known in every nook and cranny of the world as the franchise Shane Douglas. You are the cornerstone of ECW, and you've been everywhere.
I disagree with people say that. I happen to be the guy that at that stage of my career, I was ready for that spot. I was 11 years into the business and had been in the ring with all the greats at that point and learned from. And so when ECW popped up, I was the logical choice to put into that spot. Thankfully, we had Funk there and the younger crew of talent that we had younger then. Taz and Tommy Dreamer and Raven and Sandman and Sabu and Mikey Whipwreck and the whole card. And then you have someone like Francine to work with that was new to the business, fairly new to the business, but an incredible student, ready to learn.
I had to console Shane Douglas like only the head cheerleader knows how.
And then, honestly, the most insane wrestling crowds I'd ever seen. They were the sixth man on the bench that made ECW.
They broke the ring!
It's flattering to hear I was the guy at ECW, but ECW is always more about the family, the group of us, and the group of us was always worth way more than any one piece of us.
Shane, you know what I love about you? The respect that you have for the wrestling business and how you give everybody that paved that road for all of us to go on. And that's something missing in the business today. I don't care what anybody says. Respect is big, and you are number one on that. And I just think that's great.
I feel compelled to be respectful of business. It's granted me an incredible life. And I've met some incredible wrestlers, and talent in my day and got a chance to be friends with them and work with them. And I want to see our business hotter than it's ever been. I want every kid in the business today to have all the breaks that I had and have the opportunity to have those breaks. And I'm concerned with how the business is being run today, that you have, by and large, the quote-unquote promotions today have shoved all the older guys that know and can teach out the door. And I have often said, Mick Foley and I were two fairly big names in the business, right? Both trained by Dominic DeNucci, trained the same way. If we'd have gone on the road back then, left Dominic DeNucci's school and gone on the road, and only wrestled each other through our careers, how could I have made him any better? How could he have made me any better? We were at the same level. So again, just being in the ring, that we both had the opportunity to be in the ring with shoulders of giants that we stood on and learned from. That I think there's a compulsion, a responsibility, an onus for us to give that back in some respect. But I love wrestling, always have from the time I was 6 years old.
Can all kiss my ass?
But I want to be, when I'm the old guy, the old guy, and fatter than I am even right now, sitting in my living room, I want to be able to flip the TV on and watch great wrestling. Absolutely. And I don't see much of it today. Now
it's different.
Different, very different. The mark in me wants to see what these kids with this incredible athleticism would produce if they were under the type of regime that I was under. When you went to work for Bill Watts, you didn't go out there and do what you wanted. You went out and did what they told you to do.
Exactly.
Or what the guy you were working with told you to do, or that you get your head up your backside.
That's what this is all about.
Yes. And all those guys were great. The Black Barts and the Eddie Gilberts and all the crew, Dick Murdoch, Dick Slater, Pez Watley. I mean, so many of them that piece by piece taught me this craft that I've learned, allowed me to make a living with it, a darn good living with it. Travel the world, meet thousands and thousands of incredible fans, and really not have to carry a 9-to-5 job. So it's been amazing.
It's a blessing.
Damn right, it's a blessing, and that I've been able to do this. I can still remember the snot-nosed kid that started watching studio wrestling, and if you'd have told me then that one day you're going to be in the business, forget championships or anything. If you told me you're going to be in a wrestling ring having a real match at some point in your life, I'd have called you crazy.
With a real wrestler.
Yeah, with real wrestlers, right? I'd have called you crazy, but here we are all these years later, and it sort of went by like a blink. So I'm amazed at the industry. I'm dying to see the industry get back to its roots and what these kids would produce with that incredible athleticism.
Screaming in pain, but he says no.
The kids that I have come up to me do want me to give them feedback, and they take the feedback even when it's negative. But I don't see any push for them to implement that into their matches. So like in AEW, for instance, in the backstage area, they've got Arn Anderson, they had Tully Blanchard, Billy Gunn, Dean Malenko.
You see, ECW is what I'm all about.
And when I'm watching, I don't see any Arn Anderson.
Influence.
None, zero. I know how they teach, I learn from them. I see zero impact. And so when I ask, I get told these kids just won't listen. And comical to me, because I don't remember that being an option when I was a kid. Like,
It wasn't.
hey, Shane, go out and do what you want. And if you want to take my advice, take it, not take it.
Go out there and do what you're told.
Yeah.
That's what I was.
Yeah.
That's how I learned.
I'm fighting against the world's greatest athletes to maintain this title.
And like to any of the kids out there watching, please don't take this as criticism. But if you see a Terry Funk, a Dick Murdoch, a Dick Slater, all the guys that are gone, but names I remember. If you see an Arn Anderson sitting over there, a Jake Roberts, they got something to say. If you have a question, go ask them. They'd love to tell you, and you'll learn from it, right? And get better at your craft.
Just incredible. Thanks for lead.
Shane, this is great. You know, I'd like to pick your brain for a minute, though. I want to say a name to you, and I want you to tell me first thing that comes to your mind, okay? So let's start with Nick Bockwinkel.
Classy guy, somebody that diligently worked at his craft, and from a bygone era, an era that to me is sort of like the land of Oz, right? It existed some other place, some other time, and I think Nick Bockwinkel personified that.
Absolutely. Here's another one. How about Rick the Model Martel?
Great guy, right? Phenomenal. One of those first guys that I remember as a kid watching wrestling that looked not like a wrestler, right? Like the body, but the movie star, good looks, and then getting to know him and work with him later. A great guy, great at his craft, taking the time to learn it, right? I mean, you're going to get the same answer over and over with all these guys, right? Because they all did it the proper way. But always got along great with Rick.
How about the Hands of Stone? Ronnie Garvin.
Just was with Ronnie a few weeks ago. Great guy. I was there the night that he and Flair wrestled in Detroit.
In Joe Louis Arena. Gary Warnchek was very influential in bringing it in with Gary Juster in the NWA.
That's correct. We were in the dressing room. The monitors back then did not have audio. You were just watching it as sterile. And when he and Flair started chopping each other, the chops were so laid in that we could hear them in the dressing room as if we had a monitor with a sound box, an audio box. Just amazing. And interviewing him a few weeks ago, learned things about him I never knew. His upbringing, how he got into the business. Just really an amazing story. If you ever get a chance to dig in with him, do it. It really was fascinating.
Okay, how about this name? Jimmy Jam Garvin.
Same thing, right? Surprised when I found out they weren't really brothers later, later in my career. But, Jimmy to me was that guy that really sort of was the front end of that 80s style. The little bit flamboyance, the ring music, the dancing to the ring and all of that. He was hitting on something that was going to become much bigger in our industry.
I always thought he was kind of a little bit ahead of his time and a real innovator.
Very much innovator. Because if you look at what wrestling became 5-10 years down the road, it was right on shoulders of guys like Jimmy, right?
It would fit in perfect. Okay, one last one for you. Missy Hyatt.
The first legit diva in wrestling, right? I mean, when I went to UWF in '86, she and Eddie Gilbert were still married. She came up with half the name Shane Douglas over at his house one day. He asked me if I wanted to use a stage name, a work name or a shoot name. I didn't know the difference. I said, what's the difference? And he said, well, if you use a real name, anybody can call the hotel and get wrong. No. I wanted my privacy. So he said, I'm thinking either Shane or Cody. And I like Shane better than Cody. And we sat there for hours trying with incarnations of my real name. Troy Shane, Shane Martin, and nothing sounded right. Missy had gone into the kitchen to make lemonade. And when you walked out of the kitchen, there was like a wrought iron, sealing the floor piece of grate there. She came walk. I could still see her carrying the tray of lemonade saying, how about Shane Douglas? And me and Eddie looked at each other like, sounds like a real name, right? It flows. And that's where the name, she came up with the Douglas part of it. But she was, very well steeped into the business, right? From Eddie and Tommy, Eddie's dad. Women before her were rough-looking women that could wrestle and were, tough as nails in the ring and stuff. Suddenly here you've got this gorgeous woman on camera. Again, way before its time, right? The whole diva thing we see going on today beckons right back to the dark journeys and the Missy Hyatts of the business. It really,
I think she's still hot today.
she's a beautiful, beautiful woman. And really, I think a lot of people mistake her character for her, like they do a lot of us. Missy, very intelligent woman, a very good speaker. But when she's in front of a camera, she's going to be Missy Hyatt, right? Not the human being, the character. So again, when I think of people like her and Eddie and that whole UWF run, it beckons me back to my break in the business, and just a lot of good memories.
Shane, thank you so much for this time. This has been great. Ladies and gentlemen, the franchise, Shane Douglas. I'm Chris Carter with Real Wrestling Talk. We'll see you again.
Get to like and subscribe to the greatest wrestling show of all time, Wrestling Real Talk. Once again, if you'd like for us to talk about one of your favorite stars, it's real simple. Use this address right here at the bottom of your screen. Do it now. Send in those requests.
And it's Wrestling's Real Talk. So smash the like and whatever you do, and then push the thing and subscribe. And don't kayfabe it and get two accounts, because they'll get you in the end.